Hey, good morning, folks. Thanks for joining us here in the News 12 Now studio. I'm Nick Proto. We are talking about the case of 4-year-old Javeayah Harris, as we are now about 25 minutes away from hearing from Aiken County Sheriff Marty Sawyer, who has an update on this case. This has been going on since last Tuesday night when Javeayah was first reported missing. We've got two people who have been covering it since that time, Will Rio and Sydney Hood. Sydney, I want to start with you. You've been covering this since that first night, Tuesday, more than a week ago now. Bring us up to speed with where we are now and really hit on what you saw yesterday when you were out at the house and covering this story again.
Really just a lot more questions than answers from the community here. I spent all day at the memorial that is growing by the days in front of the house Javeayah lived at here in Aiken, and to see the amount of people coming out to leave stuffed animals, flowers, candles, balloons for Javeayah, it's been really moving to witness that, to watch how a group of strangers have come together to grieve this little girl who she didn't know any of them, but they all certainly know her now. You say Javeayah Harris's name and immediately people have her picture in their heads. They know who you're talking about. They know that little girl at this point. And a lot of people in this community have basically said that she's an adopted member of this community. They've adopted her as one of their own. They look at her as one of their own. I spoke to many parents and grandparents who say that all they want to do is just hug her tight and treat her as if they were her own. So I think that just goes to show you the amount of love and support people are giving to her right now, and to the investigators who are still searching for her, who have never stopped searching for her since that night she was reported missing, and then especially on Saturday after Sheriff Marty Sawyer said that they believe she's to be deceased, but that does not stop their search for Javeayah. And Will, you and I were talking on the way up here about how that memorial has grown, how it's been moving to witness that. You were at the vigil that was held at the alley on Sunday. I just kind of want to get your perspective on all of this and kind of what you've witnessed in the time you've been out here as well.
Yeah, the vigil that I attended on Sunday was one of the first in the community. It was incredible to see hundreds of people show up for someone that they've never met or never knew before all of this happened too. And so many people stood up in front of everyone and shared how this was hurting them and how this has impacted them, what they want to see change moving forward too. And again, just how many people showed up for someone that they just had never met. And this story has touched so many people in our community. But back here at the sheriff's office, this we can assume is going to be a major update in the Javeayah Harris case. Just looking around this parking lot, there is a massive amount of law enforcement that have showed up for this press conference. So hopefully we get something meaningful out of this press conference, a major update expected here. And if you haven't been following this over the last few days, investigators were in the upstate searching near the Great Falls area that's on the Fairfield and Chester County lines. They were searching the Debbie Terry Creek access, which is a boat launch up there. And that was blocked off for several days, since Saturday at least, when Aiken County named an area of interest outside of Aiken County where they were searching for Javeayah. And yesterday we went up there and there was no blockade up there. We could get all the way down that access and see where they were searching for the very first time. And then before that, too, we knew investigators went back to Javeayah's home on Tuesday. The family home, they were showing up there with brown evidence bags going in and out of that house. They were also behind the home digging with shovels, too. Coroner's office was also assisting there. So this is expected to be, we assume, a major update in the case. We're all hoping that there is some news that Javeayah may have been found, hopefully, so that we can get some closure, move on with this case too, and progress it so we can try to get more answers and hopefully justice for Javeayah as well. And Sydney, you were out there the other day when investigators were at the home.
Yeah.
Take us through what you saw and what that was like too.
Well, I saw, like you mentioned, a lot of investigators out there inside the house and outside the home as well. They had the brown evidence bags. I saw a couple of investigators with the yellow evidence markers as well going inside the house and placing them down and also on the outside. But if you've been following our coverage and you picture in your head the exterior of the house, there is a beige truck that has been sitting in the driveway this entire time. And the primary focus of these investigators was on the other side of that truck. So we couldn't get a good look at exactly what they were looking at on the ground. Just that was as close as we could get to keep some respect there and also to let the investigators do their job there. But I watched as they, again, walked back there with shovels. I saw a couple items of what appeared to be clothing or a piece of cloth, perhaps. I saw one investigator pick up a shoe to put it into the evidence bag as well. So definitely it's going to be interesting to see if and how they touch on that today. I know, speaking with a lot of people in the community yesterday, they want to know what, if anything, they found at that house on Tuesday, because there were a lot of people from the community watching that night on Tuesday as investigators were searching inside the home and outside as well. A lot of those people were just showing up to pay their respects to Javeayah, to leave something at the memorial. But once they saw investigators there, they stayed back and watched with us. We were all watching this in real time, trying to process what they were doing out there, trying to figure out who the main players were out there. Of course, when I first got out there, it was just the sheriff's office, and about 10 minutes after the fact is when I saw someone from the coroner's office show up as well. So again, just this community has a lot more questions than answers. Hopefully we get them some answers from this news conference today. Of course, the sheriff's office has said throughout this entire process that this is still an active investigation. There's only so much that they can share with us to protect the integrity of this case here, but they recognize that the community is searching for answers in all of this, and they're doing the best that they can, they say, to try and provide that for us. Sheriff Marty really touched on that on his last news conference on Saturday about how this is, of course, not the outcome any of us wanted to have, but it's the outcome that they must face, and it's the outcome that the community must face. And to me, the fact that he keeps mentioning the community goes to show you just how hard Javeayah has touched the hearts of people, not just in Aiken County, but across South Carolina and nationally as well.
Yep.
I mean, I met someone yesterday at the memorial who came down from Delaware. She was visiting family here, but hearing that she came from all the way up there, I mean, again, it just goes to show you how this little girl who none of us knew has touched so many hearts.
And back at that home on Tuesday when investigators showed back up, they did tell us that they were there for evidence and not for remains, but again, we'll see what this press conference reveals in about 15 minutes or so on what they've learned to bring them back out to that family home. It was not roped off. Since the parents, actually, we don't know if it was ever roped off, but certainly since the parents were arrested, it was not roped off with any crime scene tape, so really anyone could have gone on the property and had messed up a crime scene that they were looking at later on in the week too. So it's going to be interesting to see what they learned to take them back to that house. We also learned yesterday from several different reports that we got back from the Aiken County Sheriff's Office and Clinton PD. That's important because it gives us a timeline of what this family was doing and where they were before all of this happened. We now can confirm that they were in Clinton, South Carolina before coming to Aiken County. There was actually a report on file for a verbal disagreement or argument that Clinton PD responded to an apartment complex up there for. And it's interesting to note because there was a domestic call that they had here in Aiken County back in March of this year, so not too long ago. Javeayah's name was not mentioned on either of those reports. And if you're familiar with domestic violence or family violence cases, and when officers show up, usually that's a key thing that they note is whether children were present or not. So it's interesting that her name wasn't on either of those reports, and it brings up the timeline of when was Javeayah missing, when did she pass away too, and how she passed away as well. So there's just so many questions still left with this case.
Absolutely, because the timeline that we've given thus far based on these news conferences and the warrants as well, it's from May 1st until June 15th. Whenever they were still searching for Javeayah, they were asking the public for any photos or videos they may have from June 15th until June 30th. That, of course, is the day that Javeayah was reported missing by her mother. So like you said, Will, it's interesting the timelines here. Hopefully we can get some clarity on that today, or I know you are looking into that March incident, so hopefully we get some more clarity there. But we, again, like the community, we have a lot of questions, a lot more questions than answers here that we are working to find out. But again, there's only so much that the sheriff's office can tell us right now with it being an ongoing investigation, and we just want to make sure that we are sharing only what the sheriff's office is telling us right now, because that's another thing, and you and I also talked about this, Will, about just the amount of misinformation that's been spread online throughout this case, and we've been trying to touch base with the sheriff's office to combat that. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I know you have a little bit more knowledge on like getting those squared away there.
Yeah, so a lot of the information that we're getting, if it's not from the sheriff's office, is through FOIA. So it's Freedom of Information Act in South Carolina. That's public record. So those are things that we can request, like reports, dash cam video. You obviously can't get body cam video in South Carolina. It doesn't fall under FOIA unless that's been subpoenaed and has been used in court. So that is how we're getting a lot of these reports and information too. But yeah, there's been a lot of misinformation out there. There was some confusion on GoFundMe's and some other fundraisers to help out that family that has since been debunked, saying that the family has not set up a GoFundMe. There's a lot of people who are out there who are trying to take advantage of people in times like this. It's sad that we even have to say that, but that's the reality of where we are now in the internet and social media too. So just be careful before donating any money, sending food, anything like that to any family members. But I know they're going through a tough time. Your Meredith Anderson actually talked with a family member yesterday up in Union, and they're going through a lot right now, as you can imagine. They're still waiting for a lot of answers. I mean, they found out some of this through Facebook, which is just absolutely heartbreaking. So yes, there's so much misinformation. It's so important to listen to the sheriff's office and listen to what we're also sharing from the sheriff's office, and then some of our public records requests and FOIA requests that we're sending to so many different agencies. And I've gotten a lot of questions about this too. Was DSS involved beforehand? We know they're involved now because when they went to bond hearing, they said they had to adhere to all DSS requirements. But beforehand, we can't get that information because those case files do not fall under FOIA in South Carolina, unfortunately. Over in Georgia, if a child passes away, it does fall under the Open Records Act, so we can usually get that. But in South Carolina, you can't. They wouldn't even confirm to me if they had an open case or if they were involved. So that's still an unknown thing that we're trying to find out, but that's going to have to come directly from family if we do. So again, that information is going to come from law enforcement too.
Absolutely. And Will, you actually spoke to Javeayah's dad before he was arrested. You did a phone call interview with him, sort of like a initial meet and greet, trying to just get bare bones information from him. Talk to me a little bit about what he told you, what that conversation felt like, and now since he's been arrested, just kind of how things have played out there.
I've gotten this question a lot. It's pretty surreal knowing that you've talked to someone involved in a case like this, especially the father. And it was just an initial interview I was doing with him. I was just trying to get basic information about who Javeayah was and what he knew and what he didn't know and what he wanted the public to know. It was about an 8-minute phone call that I had with him. I would have asked him more questions if I had time because I wanted to get him on camera and do that on-camera interview to do full details. And again, we had a meeting scheduled for 3 p.m. and I showed up, and then that eventually didn't happen. So we didn't get any follow-up answers. But that full call is on our website, WRDW.com. And yeah, I mean, I don't have initial thoughts about it because we didn't know what was going on when that phone call happened. We didn't know what we know now. But looking back at that, it's the whole story that he told us, right? He went to 3 or 4 different stores, was at the laundromat. His girlfriend couldn't call him, didn't have cell service, and then he went home, found out what was going on. I asked him, do you have any idea what happened to him? And he said, no, sir, I have no idea. And knowing that Javeayah had been dead for a month before that phone call when he told me that, it's just absolutely shocking and unbelievable. And we now know that the 911 call that the mother made was also not true when that happened, and it sounded so real.
It did. She was giving law enforcement the most detailed description of Javeayah, saying that she was last seen wearing pink Minnie Mouse pajamas. She had on Crocs. She had pink beads in her braided hair. She was saying that Javeayah was outside playing in the chicken coop as she had always been. The mother said that she was inside making dinner. She had started a bath for Javeayah, and when she went outside to go get her, that she was not there. And you heard it in her voice. She sounded very genuine and worried about her child over the phone. So listening to that, and like I said, me being out there at the church at around 11 o'clock that Tuesday when the sheriff's office told us that they were actively looking for Javeayah, just knowing that the response that this started and how that progressed all last week with dozens of local agencies as well as SLED and the FBI, of course, it just, it really, I hate to say it gave me goosebumps because I feel like that's such a cliche to say, but listening to that, knowing what we know now, and also reading the warrants during that call while I was listening to it for the first time, it just, like I said, it still leaves me with a lot more questions than answers here. And hopefully, I know we're getting ready to get started with the news conference here, but hopefully we get some of that answered here.
Brenton, I know you've got a really pretty shot set up and you worked hard to do this. Can we show the parking lot here, potentially? This is incredible. This parking lot is 99% empty most days. And look how many cars are in this parking lot for this press conference. This is a mix of maybe, I don't know if families here yet or not, or if they're expected to show up. But this is media, this is potential family members, friends, people of the community who have shown up. And of course, a lot of law enforcement are also here. I think I saw DNR get out of a few different pickup trucks here. So this is set to be a potentially large update in the case, we can assume, by the presence that's here today and the lack of answers that we've gotten over the last few days, which is not it's not law enforcement or the sheriff's office fault about that. They have an investigation that they need to keep sealed and tight. So that is not something that we're blaming them for, of course. That is something that they need to do. But again, it's left us wondering what's happened with this case, especially when they were back out of the home on Tuesday.
Also, like you mentioned, there's only so much that they can tell us and only so much that we can tell the public, because law enforcement, of course, has to protect the integrity of this case. It's still active and ongoing here. But looking at this parking lot, that was my first time looking at it just now.
It's
I think
crazy.
that just goes to show you again how much the community is invested in Javeayah's story. You see that with the memorial that is growing by the days outside her house, and you certainly see that here in the parking lot with all of the investigators and deputies that have shown up here. Like you said, maybe potentially family members here, and then certainly us. Like, her story has reached so many people. People are interested and invested. They want to know what happened to her, and they want to, get justice for this little girl. The FBI touched on that at their news conference on Saturday. So yeah, this parking lot, it speaks for itself. It speaks to the volume of people who have a heart in this story.
And this was very similar to the press conference that we had on Saturday with the sheriff too. I mean, we pulled up to the Aiken County Government Center where that one was held. And in the parking lot, you just saw all the law enforcement vehicles, and you kind of knew that there was going to be a large update. And this is what I'm expecting here too. I mean, this is a large presence here. It's a lot of people who have showed up to show support for Javeayah in this case, showing their interest. I mean, there's almost not a parking spot left here. And again, I've never seen that before. So this is absolutely incredible. And again, we're going to bring that press conference to you guys live. That should start in about 7 minutes or so. 10:30 is the scheduled start. You can find that right here on WRDW Plus. We have that on our website under the Watch Live newscast. We have it on our Facebook page. Multiple ways to watch that live. And again, expecting a pretty large update in the case for Javeayah Harris. Nick.
Yeah, guys, there's a lot there, a lot of great information that we can touch on. I did want to mention, too, because I'm looking through some of the comments as we're going here, and people are talking about what they've seen, what they've heard on other Facebooks and whatnot. There's a lot of stuff going around from a lot of people, all these crime reporter influencers who are just picking up information and trying to run with it. These two here have been boots on the ground, especially Sydney, not to take anything away from Will, but have been boots on the ground for the last week plus with what's going on, talking to the sheriff's office, talking to community members, sources out there. So all the information that you see on the internet, if it's not coming from these guys, I wouldn't believe it as much. I take it with a grain of salt, because everything we put out is coming directly from the sheriff's office, directly from the people who have all of that information. So that's why it's important to not trust everything you see on the internet, but just trust it when it's coming from those reliable sources. And that's what you got there with these two reporters on the ground, Will and Sydney. So just wanted to put that out there. And then if you're just joining us, I know we've got a lot of people filtering in on all of our social platforms right now. We are expecting a news conference from Sheriff Marty Sawyer in Aiken County here in about 5 minutes or so with an update on the Javeayah Harris case. They called this yesterday. They've been searching all over her house. They've been searching in the upstate. But when we went to the upstate yesterday, no one was out there searching. No law enforcement was out there searching. So just wanted to put that out there as we wait for this update. And then we've got a couple minutes here. We could play the 911 call. This, to me, is such a shocking thing to hear. So if the news conference starts before this 911 call is finished, we'll jump out of it. But let's go ahead and listen to this. This is from the night that the mother reported Javeayah missing. Take a listen.
Aiken County 911, where's your emergency?
Ma'am, I'm at 39 Hillsborough Street. I can't find my baby.
39 Hillsborough Street.
Yes, ma'am. She was outside playing, and I came out here after cooking dinner a little bit, and I'm looking for her, but I don't see her nowhere.
All right, how old is this baby?
She's 4.
All right, what was she wearing?
She has on pink Minnie Mouse pajamas, and she had in pink beads. She had braids.
Is she black, white, or Hispanic?
She's mixed.
Okay, how long ago did you see her, ma'am? When was the last time you saw her?
I just came out here like no less than 20 or 30 minutes ago. I went in the house to cook dinner, and I
Yes,
told
ma'am.
her it's time to come in once it starts getting dark. And when I came out here, I
Okay,
can't
okay.
find her.
Just take a breath for me, okay? I already have them on the way to you, okay? Do you know where she might be heading?
She
Okay, you have any
said,
family or friends that live around the area?
no, but she usually try to chase our chickens to catch them, and I've been looking through the woods to try to see if I see her, but I don't see her nowhere.
What's your name?
My name is Javeayah Harris.
What's her name?
Javeayah Harris.
Harris? I couldn't hear the first name.
Javeayah is spelled Javeayah. And I wasn't out here. I'm 39 weeks pregnant. I can't keep up with her like that.
Okay. And what? Anybody else out there with her? Like that was out there with her? Any friends, kids playing with her?
The way our yard is set up, it's nothing but the dogs and the chickens
Okay.
right here at the back.
All right. Does she have any health issues? Any mental issues? Anything like that?
They suspect that she was autistic, but she just now turned 4, so they don't have no diagnosis all the way.
Okay.
She's very smart, though. She don't seem autistic.
Does she talk?
Yeah. She can carry a full conversation.
Okay. You didn't see any vehicles before you went inside or anything like that?
No, but what worries me is these crackheads that walk in his house behind the house. I don't know. I've always felt weird about them, and I don't know. Hello?
I'm still here, ma'am. Give me just a second.
My
There.
call might be breaking up because of where we at.
Okay. What's a good callback number for you, ma'am?
Ma'am, I don't have one. My phone is not on, but I can still call 911.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Okay. I have them on the way to you. Just to confirm, where was she in the house when you saw her last?
No, she wasn't in the house, ma'am. She been playing outside today. And
Okay.
she asked me, can she play for a little bit more before it got dark, and I said yes. And I literally, her bath water is in the tub, ran, and dinner is cooking, and I came out here to get her, and I can't even find her.
Okay. Is there a certain place she likes to play outside?
Usually in the chicken coop, and that's usually where I find her every day. And I just looked in here, and she's not in here.
Okay. Is there any bodies of water nearby?
I don't know, ma'am. Me and my husband just now purchasing this house. I don't know about this area much, but it's not a good area. I'll tell you that. It's not good.
Okay. You say you searched the woods. Is that behind your house?
Yes, it's like a pathway right behind my house. And we usually take the dog sometimes in the woods to just let them run. And she'll come, so I know she knows about the woods. And but I look down the same pathway that we walk, and I do not see her.
Okay. And you said she was wearing pink Minnie Mouse pajamas. Anything else you may be wearing?
Her beads are pink.
Beats are pink.
Yeah, she's got braids. I mean, I don't know if she got on Crocs or with shoes, because she just puts on play shoes, but I don't, ma'am, it's not no way that she could have got far.
All right. Do you have any neighbors around the area that you're familiar with she might be going to?
No, we don't talk to none of these people. None of these people, because they all mostly do drugs. I don't associate myself with that.
Have you checked with neighbors to see if they have seen her?
No, ma'am. I'm literally, I called you 10 minutes after I stepped outside. The cops are pulling up right now.
All right. Go ahead and talk to them, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. No problem.
Hey, how you doing?
that is very tough to listen to given the circumstances of what we know now. Looks like they're getting ready to start this news conference here. Aiken County Sheriff Marty Sawyer, I don't see him just yet, but we know he is expected to give an update here shortly on the Javeayah Harris case.
Behind wherever you can.
Looks like they're getting set up there. Let's just take this full, and we'll let you guys listen into that, and then we'll come back in and check in after.
Check it. All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. In just a moment, the sheriff will come out. He does have a prepared statement for the update in the case involving Javeayah Harris. Also, at the end of the conclusion of the statement, the sheriff will answer some limited questions. Just keep in mind that there's some details of the case he won't be able to discuss. So go ahead and try to have your questions thought in your head now. So at the end, we can go ahead and ask those questions. So thank you all.
I thank y'all for a job well done. Sorry that y'all wasted y'all resources, but y'all did a great job. Thank you. Thank y'all for protecting the sheriff's employees.
Good morning. I'm Marty Sawyer, and I'm the sheriff in Aiken County. Thank you for being here today, especially the citizens of Aiken that's come in. Thank you for being here. And I'm here to provide an update on the investigation that we've been investigating the death of 4-year-old Javeayah Harris. These updates never get easier to share. This past week has been heart-wrenching for everyone, but we've seen an outpouring of support in Aiken County and a massive joint law enforcement effort to search for and now to seek justice for Javeayah Harris. Personally, there's some very harsh words that I would like to use about Javeayah and Michelle and their actions. But I will not do that. And I will not do that to protect and maintain the integrity of this case. But I will tell you this. I will not refer to them as mom and dad or mother or father. They don't deserve that title. I stand before you saying this is one of the most difficult, deeply disturbing, and emotionally taxing investigations this office has ever worked, and it's weighed heavily on this sheriff's office, all these other law enforcement agencies, all these people behind me that's worked tirelessly to bring this to an end, and it's weighed heavily on our community. I am truly sickened to share what this investigation has uncovered. From the moment Javeayah was reported missing, the Sheriff's Office, as well as our law enforcement partners and first responders, we responded with urgency, determination, and compassion. What started as an exhaustive and complex search quickly grew to something that I would have never imagined. Now understand, I cannot discuss all the details. We should have stopped the train. Understand that I cannot discuss all the specific details in this case. But at this time, I can share that a few human remains were recovered in an area known as Cedar Creek Reservoir, also known as Stumpy Pond in Fairfield County. These remains were immediately sent to the State Law Enforcement Division, and through analysis, the DNA of the remains are consistent with being the biological offspring of Javeayah and Michela. I want to also share with you that through forensic evidence, statements, and analysis, extensive and deliberate efforts were made to destroy and conceal evidence following Javeayah's death. Our information reveals the use of corrosive chemicals and other tools that were used to accelerate the destruction of her little body. After this was completed, these two individuals poured what remains were left of Javeayah into the Cedar Creek Reservoir. These subjects went through great lengths to cover their repulsive and revolting actions. In my 37-year career in law enforcement, I have never, ever heard of anything so horrific. As a result of this information, it's unlikely that the entirety of Javeayah's body or any other remains from this point forward will be recovered. And I'll say this again, we had all hoped and prayed to find her body, but with the information we've uncovered, that's simply not possible. I want to also announce additional charges for destruction and desecration of human remains have been filed against these two individuals. I know this is heartbreaking for anyone who's followed this case. It's heartbreaking for our office, for all the law enforcement across the state that's worked on this case, countless hours to find every piece of evidence with the hope of bringing Javeayah home. It's heartbreaking to our community. Our commitment has been to pursue the truth regardless of how difficult it may be. While no announcement can lessen the profound loss in this case, our commitment remains unchanged. Today is not only about the evidence recovered, it's about a child whose life was taken far too soon. While today marks a painful chapter in this case, it does not end our work. Our investigators will continue to pursue every lead, examine every piece of evidence, and work closely with the Second Circuit Solicitor's Office to ensure that justice for Javeayah is pursued. I ask you to pray. Pray for Javeayah and her extended family, our staff, all these other law enforcement agencies, and this community. Again, I want to thank all these law enforcement partners, local, state, federal, other first responders who assisted in this case. But from the time I announced at my last press conference that the investigation had taken us outside of Aiken County, I specifically want to thank the State Law Enforcement Division, South Carolina DNR, and Sheriff Will Montgomery and the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. These DNR divers spent hours and hours and hours searching. Finally, I want to again thank our community. Throughout this investigation, you have demonstrated compassion, encouragement, patience, and prayers. We recognize the emotional impact this case has had on so many, and we thank you for standing with us. Together, this community has shown that even in the face of tragedy, compassion, unity, and service remain stronger than the darkness we've encountered. I'm going to take a few questions, but if it didn't come from this press release, you're probably not going to get much more. At this point in time, with what they're charged with, that would be a question for the solicitor's office later down the line. I don't want to speak for them.
And what have you guys learned from relatives or other close family about when Javeayah was last seen alive, and whether or not any one of the close family members had raised any concerns about not seeing her for an extended period of time?
I'm just going to say the same thing I said at the last press conference. We believe that she had been dead for about a month before the 911 call.
Has there been any evidence that you guys have found in the last few days, or when it comes to the child abuse standpoint towards Javeayah, that was it one specific incident that potentially killed her, or was it long ago?
I can't speak on that. I know the answer. I'm just not going to give that.
You all have on the pink ties and the pink ribbons. Can you elaborate what that means to you? And you mentioned seeing the community here, put together this vigil tonight. What does this mean to you?
Well, everybody's put on Facebook to wear pink. The pink's her favorite color. We just thought it would be, we care about her like everybody else does. We have people that'll be at the vigil tonight. I have a previous speaking engagement, so I can't be there. They come late, but we just want to show that we're human beings. We're not robots. We care about the people in this community, especially a 4-year-old little girl. This is the most disturbing thing you'll ever see.
All right, one more question.
How did you know to go to Fairfield County?
I'm not going. Our investigation led us there. Okay. Thank y'all, and thank you, community.
Thank you all. Y'all did a wonderful job. We really appreciate y'all.
There you have it. That was Aiken County Sheriff Marty Sawyer giving us the update that I think we were expecting but hoping would never come, and that is that they found Javeayah Harris's remains, and I was taking some notes as he was speaking to try to make sure I didn't forget anything. I had to stop in the middle of that and just try to take in what he was saying, because that was some truly sick stuff that he was saying that came from this news conference. I'll go ahead and read out just a little bit of what we wrote down here. So he started off by thanking everybody for being there, said he had harsh words that he would like to use to Javeayah and Michelet. He said he won't refer to them as mom and dad or mother and father because they don't deserve that. The actions that they've shown over the last week or so, and even beyond that, as we now know, make them unworthy of that title. He says they used accelerants, including corrosive chemicals, to destroy Javeayah's body. He then says they poured her remains into, I believe it's Cedar Creek Reservoir. I wrote that down somewhere, forgive me. But I believe it's Cedar Creek Reservoir in Fairfield County. If I can pull that back up. Just give me 1 second here. I just want to make sure I've got that right. I know it's in Fairfield County. I know it's a reservoir. I'm pretty sure it's called Cedar Creek. Let's see. Yeah, Cedar Creek Reservoir in Fairfield County. There's a look at them. They're now charged with desecration and destruction of human remains. So add that charge onto the homicide by child abuse and onto the false report that Michelet faces as well. Michelet was denied bond on that charge because it was tied to a homicide charge. They do have to go to circuit court to see if they're eligible for bond on the homicide charges. Hard to believe that will be granted given the details that we just learned today. Again, if you're just joining us, that was Sheriff Marty Sawyer giving us an update on the Javeayah Harris case. He says they found remains up at Cedar Creek Reservoir that were the DNA that SLED tested was consistent with the, let me see what he says here, the biological offspring of Michelet Herring and Javeayah Harris, which would be Javeayah Harris. So they believe they found Javeayah's remains. He then says the two here on your screen, Javeayah and Michelet, went to great lengths to cover their actions, including using accelerants like corrosive chemicals to destroy Javeayah's body and then pour her remains into Cedar Creek Reservoir. So again, we showed you over the past couple days that officials were up in Fairfield County around that area doing some searching around Union County. And this is sick. This is sick. And that's what we're all thinking at this point, I believe. It's hard to find the words to put to this. Sheriff Sawyer said this was the most disturbing thing he's covered in his nearly 40 years in law enforcement. I haven't been in news quite that long, but I can say the same about my time here. This is truly, truly evil, wicked, vile stuff. And I know a lot of people in the comments here, I was watching along on Facebook, people were saying that, and it shows you that there is still some evil out there in this world. But I think on the flip side of that, if there is any positive to take out of this, it's the outpouring of support and the community rallying behind Javeayah and the search for her and now getting justice for her. That shows there is good in this world too. People who never knew Javeayah, never knew her name until about a week and a half ago, coming out to support. The sheriff mentioned that today. Will and Sydney mentioned that today. As you saw, you may have seen before, they started that news conference. We were talking to Sidney Hood and Will Rio, who have been out there covering this case since the beginning. And the community has really showed up and showed out for 4-year-old Javeayah. If you're just tuning in here, this is a harrowing, brutal update to share with you to this Javeayah Harris case that we got from Sheriff Marty Sawyer. He said that Michelet Herring and Javeayah Harris, who he won't even give the honor of calling mother and father or mom and dad of Javeayah, went to great lengths to cover up Javeayah's death. He says they used corrosive chemicals to try to destroy her body and then poured her remains into the Cedar Creek Reservoir, which they were able to recover some of, but he says because of the nature of what was done to Javeayah, they may never recover any more remains. So we've got Sydney and Will standing by here, and we'll check in with them in just a little bit, but this is just such a vile case, and it's so hard to listen to these details, especially when I sit here with the arrest warrants and I think about the 911 call that Michelet made the night she said Javeayah went missing. And I think about the call that Will had with Javeayah Harris on Thursday, I believe, after she went missing, allegedly missing, on Tuesday. And you just add all that up, and how can people do this, you know? There are a lot of people here who showed Javeayah love, a lot of people here who would have shown Javeayah love if she was their daughter, and this is the way she was treated here on this earth. And I hope she is able to see now that the community loves her and that there are a lot of people out there who love her. This is tough. This is tough. We've got Will and Sydney still out there today. getting set up. Guys, can you hear me? Yeah, they can hear me. Garrett, can we go ahead and pull them up here?
I'll let you take it away.
Guys, we were just talking about kind of recapping what happened here and going through the whole case, and it just adds another layer to what's already been a disgusting turn of events here in the last week or so. Give us your takeaways from Sheriff Sawyer's news conference.
I mean, absolute shock. I mean, there's no words for a situation or a case like this. I mean, it's unbelievable, and it makes me sick just thinking about it too, and having to cover this. And you go back to all the people that were standing behind that podium with the sheriff, and for the last week, the search that's gone on, and when everyone thought that she was still alive the whole time, and just the search that was happening here in Aiken County.
Yeah. I think the silence from all of them spoke volumes, and what I mean by that is I made a point to look at the faces of the dozens of investigators that were standing behind Sheriff Sawyer here, and they weren't saying anything, but they were saying a lot with the just look of terror on their faces, just hearing Sheriff Sawyer describe those details for us. And even the sheriff, he got choked up speaking about this. He says it's one of the most horrific cases he's had to work in his entire 30 plus year in law enforcement here, and you certainly heard that in his voice. You saw that on his face as he is describing these details for us. Will, just, I mean,
and all of them wearing pink too.
Yeah,
in honor of Javeayah.
They know. That was another thing that Sheriff Sawyer touched on, was how this community has come together and how this community is grieving. And so a lot of them had on pink ribbons pinned to their jackets. They had on pink ties and Sheriff Sawyer said it best when he said that they're human too in all of this. They're not robots. He said they are human. They have a heart in this. They are a part of this community as well, and they are grieving with this community right now, Will.
Yeah, and the sheriff also saying that he personally has some very harsh words for the parents of Javeayah's. I use quotes because he said he won't even call them that at this point. He says, quote, "I will not refer to them as mom and dad or mother and father. They don't deserve that title." Mm-hmm. Strong words from the sheriff. He said he has other words, but wants to keep the integrity of the investigation together at this point. He also would not comment on how they found out about the Cedar Creek Reservoir and Stumpy Pond up in Fairfield County, what led them there, but we do know that Javeayah's mom did confess on the warrants to disposing of her body at another location. But again, just a really disturbing case to say the least. Parents using corrosive chemicals to get rid of her little body. There's no easy way to put that, but I think it's important that we do know the details in this case and how these parents went about trying to cover up the crime that they are alleged to have done. Again, they're innocent until proven guilty in court, of course. So we now know that they're also going to face another charge of defacing human remains as well.
Yeah, and the sheriff saying that at this point,
or desecration,
full recovery of her remains deems impossible after the destruction in which he described for us. I just want to look down at my notes a little bit so I can make sure I get this right and read word for word what Sheriff Sawyer said. He said forensic evidence showed extensive efforts to destroy and conceal evidence after Javeayah's death. He said corrosive chemicals and tools were used to accelerate the destruction of the remains, and what remained of her, he said, was poured into the Cedar Creek Reservoir up in Fairfield County. And just, that was heavy words coming from him. It was.
And I'm sitting here looking at some families, and a lot of the community showed up. There's little kids here, and we've seen that at the memorial too. And just some of it's just, you just have no words for stuff like this. And
here in the community, sorry, Will, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to mention how the community has thanked the sheriff's office throughout all of this. You heard that woman as the sheriff was walking out, thanking him, thanking them all for their time in searching for Javeayah. But yeah, just a hard looking at those little kids here, listening to the details of what Sheriff Sawyer says happened to little 4-year-old Javeayah Harris.
Guys, everything, I mean, I'm about at a loss for words. I'm sure you guys are the same. But everything about this case, every turn it's taken has just been more and more brutal. It was a 4-year-old girl who was missing. Then we find out she's been, dead for a month. Then we find out the parents get arrested. Then we find out they used chemicals to try to destroy her body. This case is so wicked and vile and disgusting, and it's just hard to listen to. And you guys, props to you guys, Meredith, everybody who's been on this since the beginning, because it's a lot to take in, and I don't know where this sentence is going. I like I said, I don't have words right now. I mean, this is brutal. This is a brutal end, or I guess piece of this story, because it's not the end until we get justice for Javeayah, but this is a brutal turn of this story.
Sheriff Sawyer said it's a painful chapter in this case, and it certainly is. It feels like every single chapter that we keep turning in the pages of this story just get more and more brutal as the pages keep turning here. But he said that, they're going to still look into leads, any potential evidence that may come their way.
There's still a long way to go in this investigation. It's not close to over, but at
Yeah.
least this gives us some answers as to what happened and how it happened too. But like you said, Nick, as us being in the news, we all like to talk, and all of us are speechless at this point. Just complete and utter shock. And there's not much else to say about it.
One thing as we were listening to that, I know the sheriff took a couple questions. It was a little bit hard to hear what those questions were. We just kind of got bits and pieces and got some of his answers. Could you guys kind of recap what people asked him afterwards and what other information we were able to get there?
Yeah, one question was asked. Someone had asked if there were any prior incidents of abuse that happened to Javeayah that led up to this that they're aware of, and he said he won't answer that question, but he says he does know the answer to that, but they can't tell us because of the investigation. Another one was about what led them to Fairfield County to find the rest of Javeayah's remains that were dumped out into the Cedar Creek Reservoir. He said he can't. He said his investigation led them to that point. And then another one was about obviously them wearing pink ties too.
Yeah, and for those of you who may be just joining us, I know some people are still asking what's going on. I wrote down some notes, but if you guys want to fill in the gaps where I sort of leave off because I didn't write down everything, it got to a point where I just had to stop and listen. The sheriff started off by saying this has been a heart-wrenching investigation. Thank people for the outpouring of support. He says he has some harsh words he'd like to use for Javeayah and Michaela. He said he will not refer to them as parents, mom and dad, mother, father, because they don't deserve that title. He says they found Javeayah's, or what they found remains, I should say, in Cedar Creek Reservoir up in Fairfield County. They sent those remains to SLED, and the DNA revealed that they were a match with biological offspring of Michaela and Javeayah, which would be Javeayah. He says then they used corrosive chemicals and tools to destroy Javeayah's body, and then poured the remains into the reservoir. And that's what I wrote down before I had to just kind of stop and listen. So if you guys want to pick me up there and finish out what the sheriff said.
You want to go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, after that, Nick, there's not much to add on to that except just repeating what Sheriff Sawyer said about how this is one of the most horrific cases that he's ever worked in. His 30-plus year in law enforcement, it's been hard, as you can imagine, on the Aiken County Sheriff's Office, the dozens of law enforcement agencies who showed up to help them search for Javeayah when they thought she was in the area alive. I mean, some strong words coming out of the sheriff today, and I want to repeat the quote that you said earlier whenever we got out here, that Sheriff Sawyer said he has some harsh words he would like to say about the two parents, but he said he was not going to, but he said that he is not going to refer to them as mom and dad because he said, quote, that they did not deserve those titles. And that's how he started this news conference, Nick, as you were listening. So I think that just set us off to just knowing that. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll fill in the gaps here a little bit. I want to say thank you personally for someone who lives in Aiken County as a resident here. I want to say thank you to all the law enforcement officials, DNR, SLED, the FBI out of Columbia, everyone that had a piece of this investigation. We say thank you. And I know a lot of people in this community feel the very same way. I mean, you saw the people who were behind the podium there and all the work that went into finding out what happened to Javeayah, getting the parents to confess that's what the warrant said, and putting all the pieces together, and also tracking down where she was last her remains were actually dumped. So just thank you from everyone in this community to all the law enforcement officials and everyone who had a piece in this investigation. I don't know where we would be without a lot of them, and it's just incredible work that they've done to give us some kind of answer as to what happened to Javeayah, and hopefully get justice moving forward.
The hours and the manpower. I mean, when I got out to Bethel Baptist Church, which was their staging area, I got out there at around 11 o'clock Tuesday night, the night that that 911 call came in. And even that night, I saw just different agencies from the Aiken County Sheriff's Office, of course, and I saw Beach Island coming in and other volunteer departments. And as the hours went by, you saw more and more people showing up. And then whenever I got back out there Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock, the parking lot was full. They had the drones up in the sky. They had the helicopters. So they were determined to find Javeayah. They put in, like I said, so many hours and manpower to try and find this little girl. I mean, after listening to that 911 call and hearing the description that Michelle gave to dispatchers describing what Javeayah was wearing, she was very detailed to say that she was wearing pink Minnie Mouse pajamas, the Crocs, the pink beads in her braided hair. I mean, just going through so many details to tell law enforcement that, and they took that and they ran with it, like I said, with the immense response. Yeah, and I mean, it just...
Yeah, and going back to the call I had with the dad on Thursday last week, I mean, to hear that whole story, again, it's gotten worse and worse now as we've gotten these updates from the sheriff's office. Hearing that 911 call and then hearing the interview I did with the father on Thursday last week, hearing those two stories, knowing what we know now is just really, really disturbing. And we have that phone interview I did with the dad. Take a listen after now getting these updates.
Okay, I got up around five-ish, and my daughter was outside playing. My girl was out there watching her. She was in and out of the house, I say that, and I was going to get up to wash the clothes. Yeah, what else can I say? I left the house around 6, like late 6, maybe like early 7 o'clock. It was probably around like 6, and I got back to the house maybe around 7:15 because my girl and my daughter said they wanted some candy. Like she wanted some suckers and she wanted some cookies. And I had went to like three stores maybe in between those times to go get gas, Black & Miles, and I had went and got some drinks, like some little Mad Dogs and stuff like that. And when I left and I went back to dry the clothes because I was watching them. I was sitting there for a little minute, then I ended up going to another store. Like these 3 stores that I'm saying, like I sold the 3 stores already, but I went to a store last.
Gotcha.
And I was back at the washing machine that was right beside the Circle K. And then when I was at the Circle K, I was seeing a lot of police and stuff going through, and I was wondering. I was like, you know what I'm saying? You know, a lot of stuff goes on in Aiken to where like you would be like, okay, that's the police or whatever. But I didn't know that it was my house. Because my girlfriend at the time, she didn't have service. She didn't have service on her phone, so she couldn't call me to let me know anything that was going on. So she just ended up calling 911. So when I came back to the house, before I got on my road, I seen a police truck with a drone out, and then that's when I started speeding up because I was like, it's something going down like close to my house. When I got turned on my road, I seen a whole bunch of police like right at my house. So that's when I hurried up and I got to the house and I was like, what's going on? I thought my girlfriend was in labor because she was supposed to have a baby. You know what I'm saying? Soon. So she ended up having a child that same night on July 1st. But she came up crying to me saying my Javeayah missing. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like I kind of freaked out. And the detectives was telling me I couldn't go look and stuff like that because they didn't want me to mess up the area or whatever. But that's basically what happened up until all of this came about.
Okay. Is she known to run away? Like, has there been past issues with that with her? Or is she known to do that?
No, she does not run away. But I will say that she is friendly. Like she's friendly. Like she doesn't. Like, it's not a stranger danger thing with her. It's not like get away from me. Like, she didn't get that. She didn't understand it. She was just all friendly to everybody. She was very respectful. Like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. Like, that's what she do. We raised her great. Like, she was a real smart kid. That's why, like, they had me kind of, like, messed up. But they were saying that she was not, like, she's non-verbal and that. like, yeah, she was saying she's autistic, and like that was like the media was like messing. I don't want to cuss, but that was messing my head up a little bit because they don't even have a good description of my child to try to describe her.
What's a good? Is she autistic or is she on the spectrum at all? Is that true?
She was on the spectrum when she was born, but they said that she couldn't be tested until she was 4 years old.
Okay, so it's on. You guys just don't know.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly. We never got her tested, and she's never given us signs that she is, autistic. She talks good. She's like very like she talks better than me. She got more respect than me.
Understood. So you guys have no idea what could have happened to her.
I have no clue. Sir, I don't like. It's really wild, but I had gave all of these detectives this information about people snooping around the house lately. It's like since I've started work, like from Friday, Thursday really, but from Friday to Monday, I had to work. Okay. I was working night shifts, and every time I left, my girl would when she would tell me like, oh, it's been people doing this, and then the third around the house they've been called, like they be on the phone with people like around the house, like just talking and walking real slow and things like that. And I've been telling them that, but
how are you doing through all of this?
I didn't got.
It's okay.
I didn't got a little bit of it out, but it's like not knowing is killing me. It's killing me, like, because you see stuff like this often, but you don't expect it to be you.
And is the mother, is she your wife?
No, she's not my wife. She was my girlfriend.
Okay. How is she doing?
She's still a little tore up, but she's making it. She's trying to stay calm because we just, like I said, we just recently had a child. She had to really go in labor early because all the stress that was going down. She had that baby the same night that all of this happened.
That is a man who is now charged with homicide by child abuse, as we know now, and destruction and desecration of human remains, as was just tacked on today. Javeayah Harris also faces those same Javeayah Herring also faces those same charges, plus filing a false police report. And I know some people were sending it in the comments, and Will kind of touched on it before we listened to that interview, but that interview gets harder and harder to listen to. And Will, I think this interview is kind of a turning point. Will's on the phone. We'll get to him later. But I think this interview was a turning point for a lot of people. So for the first 24, 36 hours that we've been covering this, people were saying, where are the parents? Where are the parents? Where are the parents? We finally get a chance to talk to one of the parents. And as you heard in that interview, talking about Javeayah in past tense, stuttering a lot. The story was kind of here, kind of there. And it's easy for us to sit back now and nitpick on the story. But that's, again, harder to listen to. And Sydney, you've been on this since day one, since minute one. You were the first one out there, and have been sticking with this for the past week plus. As you learn more details about this, take us through it. You've heard the 911 call. You've heard the father's interview. You've listened to the sheriff. You've spoken to the community. Take us through the past week.
Yeah, every chapter that keeps turning in this story, Nick, gets more and more painful to listen to. And like I said, Sheriff Sawyer, how he started this news conference today with those strong words saying that he's not going to refer to the two of them as mom and dad because he says that they did not deserve those titles, I think really set the tone for today, the somberness that everyone here felt. Certainly all of the dozens of investigators that were standing behind the sheriff. I was watching their faces as Sheriff Sawyer was reading the horrific details of this case, and I can only imagine the toll that this has taken on them because they put countless hours and manpower into finding Javeayah. They started that from the night that 911 call was made, filling up that church parking lot that they used as a staging area for 4 days, going in and out in this brutal heat. It was hot. hot last week. Dangerous temperatures we're talking here, but that did not stop them from going out and searching for Javeayah. So hearing the dad's interview that we just listened to, and also that 911 call, I was listening to that call for the first time on Monday while also reading the warrants and just hearing the two different stories that the warrants told me and versus that 911 call. And Will, you and I talked about this as well, just a night and day scenario there. Knowing what we know now, it just, I mean, it breaks your heart to think about that, and it certainly breaks this community's heart. I mean, seeing how many people showed up today to listen to these updates, again, goes to show you how much of a heart this community has for this little girl who, she didn't know any of us, obviously, and we did not know her prior to 2 weeks ago, but now we all certainly know who she is. You can't go online without seeing her name or face or just any sort of thing that reminds you of her, whether it be Pink or Minnie Mouse. And just with each day that we go out to the memorial outside of her house too, that's just a very chilling scene there, seeing how much love this community has for her and how they want to make sure that that love is shown there with the stuffed animals, with the flowers, with the candles.
Yeah, and for our live shot at noon in our midday show, we're actually going to go over to that house so we can show you how that memorial has grown. So if you guys want to pop over to our newscast in about 45 minutes or so, we'll be live there at noon, and you can watch it here also on our website too. So we'll be over there, show you a little bit about what's happened over the last couple of days. I'm assuming there's going to be people dropping things off, especially after the news that we got today. I can't imagine that the people that were here are going to not stop by the home, pay their respects, maybe drop something off too. But it's just been a really emotional morning here, and learning what we know now after a week of all of this.
Hey,
more than a
Will,
week.
Will, quick question for you. We just listened to the dad's interview, and I know you spoke to him obviously last Thursday, and I was telling the viewers and I was telling Sid, I think that was a turning point for a lot of people. The fact that he was referring to Javeayah in the past tense, the fact that he was having a hard time forming sentences, never once said, "We just want our baby home." I think that was an eye-opening interview for a lot of people. When you look back at that now, I mean, with the information we know now, that interview is hard to listen to.
It really is, and I didn't catch it when I first interviewed him about him speaking in past tense, and a lot of you on the internet had actually pointed that out. I went back and listened to it and said, oh, wow. And I know that we went on the air on Thursday last week, and we were out at the command center. I was with Brett Buffington, and we both had talked about how it seemed like he was really emotional in that phone interview, and listening to it back the second, third time, and then now I've heard that 20 plus times at this point, and it changes every single time I listen to it. And of course, now knowing what we know now, we can analyze that a little bit better and say how we're feeling and what we heard. And yeah, it's disturbing to hear that story, and he was having trouble coming up with the story that he was telling me. And who knows if he went to the laundromat? Who knows? I mean, that story could very well have been true. We don't know. It could allegedly been planned beforehand. Who knows? And that's what law enforcement is going to have to find out, and maybe that'll come out later in court or as the investigation wraps up. That could be years. So, yeah, when you look at that and you hear what he had to say, and then I was supposed to meet up with him that same afternoon, and I called him at 3 o'clock at our meeting spot, and to be fully transparent, I haven't really said where I was supposed to meet him. I've talked to a few people offline about all of this, and I was supposed to meet him at the hospital where his girlfriend had given birth to their newborn baby. I was supposed to meet him at Aiken Regional Hospital, so I was there at 3, and I think it's safe to say now that when we did pull up, I did see an FBI agent, one of them, come out of the main entrance of that hospital. So I don't know why they were there. I can only assume, but I was supposed to meet him at Aiken Regional to speak with him on camera. It was at 3 o'clock. I called him at 3. He said, hello. I said, hey, this is Will with News 12. Immediately hung up on me. So no other contact after that. And then shortly after that, 2 days later, they were arrested and charged with homicide by child abuse and the death and disappearance of Javeayah, their daughter. So that gives you a little bit of insight and perspective of what I was trying to gather before we knew what we know now. And looking back on that, it is absolutely brutal and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and that's a word that keeps coming around with this, right? Heartbreaking, and then another one is crazy, insane. I mean, this is stuff you just don't see, you don't hear about, and it really shows that there is some evil out there, and we are seeing that with what happened to Javeayah. And I don't want to touch on the negative too much; it's so easy to. But Sydney, you touched on this a lot, and the sheriff touched on it too. Is the positive, the people who have really rallied behind Javeayah, not just in that neighborhood, not just people who knew her, everybody rallying behind this little girl.
Yeah, because you have to think about, I'm going to start with the people who are out searching for her. So on the law enforcement side of things, you got to think there's a good bit of mothers and fathers, grandparents, aunts and uncles in that bunch, and as well as the people who have come out to the memorial. They are also parents and grandparents. So they look at Javeayah, at her face, and they think, what if that was my child? They put on the parent hat, and that's really what tugs at their heartstrings, I've come to find out here. And seeing the parents and grandparents who have brought their kids and grandkids out to the memorial to leave some toys behind for Javeayah. I go back to when that memorial first started. There was nothing there but a couple of flowers and a gray stuffed elephant. And
we thought that was great at the time, right?
Yeah, we thought that was a sweet gesture, and it certainly was. And we spoke to the person who left that behind, and they told us that they wanted to go out with their grandchild because their grandchild said that they wanted to leave that stuffed animal behind so Javeayah could have some toys. And certainly that message has spread, and it's a beautiful thing to witness how these kids care about her. I mean, a lot of the kids that I saw show up yesterday were what I can assume to be close in age to her, just little girls leaving behind Minnie Mouse dolls. I saw a couple Winnie the Poohs and various plush toys there, and also the balloons as well. Saw a couple of tiaras. So, little girl toys. And a woman that I spoke to yesterday made a good point where she said these toys should be given to Javeayah for Christmas or her birthday, not to set up a memorial for her. So again, just some strong words from this community here as they grieve this little girl who they didn't know, she didn't know them, but their heart is forever with her, Nick.
Yeah, and that is what we're seeing right now on your screen, is that memorial continuing to grow, and we can only imagine it may even continue to grow more over the next few days as this case continues. People wearing pink, we saw the sheriff's office wearing their pink. We all wore it here at News 12 yesterday in support of Javeayah, and I think we said together we hoped and together we mourn, and that's kind of been what's going on, not just in that community, but us here at the station and people really around the country. This story has caught on all over the country. People are picking this up and been praying for Javeayah and her safe return, and then praying that they find her remains, and now praying that justice is done for these parents, for Javeayah Harris and Nichelle Herring, who again are charged with homicide by child abuse. Herring is also charged with filing a false police report for that 911 call where she sounded very frantic, but now we know that was all fabricated. And then today, the sheriff said they got tacked on desecration and destruction of human remains. That is the new charge. Because again, if you are just joining us, we'll recap this a little bit, and then in a minute, we'll actually play the full news conference from Sheriff Marty Sawyer. But to highlight a couple things here real quick, he did thank the community for all of their support. And people thanked the sheriff's office right back. I want to point that out too. He also said he won't refer to the two people on your screen here charged with homicide by child abuse as Javeayah's parents, won't refer to them as mom and dad, mother, father. He says they don't deserve that title. He also says they used corrosive chemicals to destroy Javeayah's body and tools to destroy Javeayah's body. Again, they believe she's been dead for about a month. We've reported on that from the last news conference that they had. And then he says they poured Javeayah's remains into Cedar Creek Reservoir up in Fairfield County. So that is not something you hear, not the verbiage you tend to hear when disposing of somebody's remains. You don't often hear pouring out somebody's remains. So that is, I think that strikes a nerve with a lot of people. And so that's what they've been charged with. But let's go ahead, and the sheriff could say it better than I can. So let's go ahead and play the sheriff's news conference here. It runs about 9 minutes or so, and then we'll talk about it.
Good morning. I'm Marty Sawyer, and I'm the sheriff in Aiken County. Thank you for being here today, especially the citizens of Aiken that's come in. Thank you for being here. And I'm here to provide an update on the investigation that we've been investigating the death of 4-year-old Javeayah Harris. These updates never get easier to share. This past week has been heart-wrenching for everyone, but we've seen an outpouring of support in Aiken County and a massive joint law enforcement effort to search for and now to seek justice for Javeayah Harris. Personally, there's some very harsh words that I would like to use about Javeayah and Michela and their actions. But I will not do that. And I will not do that to protect and maintain the integrity of this case. But I will tell you this. I will not refer to them as mom and dad or mother or father. They don't deserve that title. I stand before you saying this is one of the most difficult, deeply disturbing, and emotionally taxing investigations this office has ever worked, and it's weighed heavily on this sheriff's office, all these other law enforcement agencies, all these people behind me that's worked tirelessly to bring this to an end, and it's weighed heavily on our community. I am truly sickened to share what this investigation has uncovered. From the moment Javeayah was reported missing, the sheriff's office, as well as our law enforcement partners and first responders, we responded with urgency, determination, and compassion. What started as an exhaustive and complex search quickly grew to something that I would have never imagined. Now understand, I cannot discuss all the details. Understand that I cannot discuss all the specific details in this case. But at this time, I can share that a few human remains were recovered in an area known as Cedar Creek Reservoir, also known as Stumpy Pond in Fairfield County. These remains were immediately sent to the State Law Enforcement Division, and through analysis, the DNA of the remains are consistent with being the biological offspring of Javeayah and Michela. I want to also share with you that through forensic evidence, statements, and analysis, extensive and deliberate efforts were made to destroy and conceal evidence following Javeayah's death. Our information reveals the use of corrosive chemicals and other tools that were used to accelerate the destruction of her little body. After this was completed, these two individuals poured what remains were left of Javeayah into the Cedar Creek Reservoir. These subjects went through great lengths to cover their repulsive and revolting actions. In my 37-year career in law enforcement, I have never, ever heard of anything so horrific. As a result of this information, it's unlikely that the entirety of Javeayah's body or any other remains from this point forward will be recovered. And I'll say this again, we had all hoped and prayed to find her body, but with the information we've uncovered, that's simply not possible. I want to also announce additional charges for destruction and desecration of human remains have been filed against these two individuals. I know this is heartbreaking for anyone who's followed this case. It's heartbreaking for our office, for all the law enforcement across the state that's worked on this case, countless hours, to find every piece of evidence with the hope of bringing Javeayah home. It's heartbreaking to our community. Our commitment has been to pursue the truth regardless of how difficult it may be. While no announcement can lessen the profound loss in this case, our commitment remains unchanged. Today is not only about the evidence recovered, it's about a child whose life was taken far too soon. While today marks a painful chapter in this case, it does not end our work. Our investigators will continue to pursue every lead, examine every piece of evidence, and work closely with the Second Circuit Solicitor's Office to ensure that justice for Javeayah is pursued. I ask you to pray. Pray for Javeayah and her extended family, our staff, all these other law enforcement agencies, and this community. Again, I want to thank all these law enforcement partners, local, state, federal, other first responders who assisted in this case. But from the time I announced at my last press conference that the investigation had taken us outside of Aiken County, I specifically want to thank the State Law Enforcement Division, South Carolina DNR, and Sheriff Will Montgomery and the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. These DNR divers spent hours and hours and hours searching. Finally, I want to again thank our community. Throughout this investigation, you have demonstrated compassion, encouragement, patience, and prayers. We recognize the emotional impact this case has had on so many, and we thank you for standing with us. Together, this community has shown that even in the face of tragedy, compassion, unity, and service remain stronger than the darkness we've encountered. I'm going to take a few questions, but if it didn't come from this press release, you're probably not going to get much more.
I know the sheriff said he was going to take a few. This is a replay of what the sheriff said earlier. He said that he was going to take a few questions. There wasn't a whole lot more information that came out of the questions. He said it right there at the end. If it didn't come from that press release, you're probably not going to get that information, and that was pretty much it. So to recap here, he thanked law enforcement. He says this has been a heart-wrenching investigation for everybody involved. We'll get to that in a little bit, but he says he has some harsh words he'd like to use for Javeayah Harris and Michelle Herring. He says he won't refer to them as mom and dad or mother and father because they don't deserve that title. And then he got into some of the details of the case. He said they went to great lengths to, he said extensive and deliberate lengths, I should say, to cover up Javeayah's death. He says they used corrosive chemicals and other tools to accelerate the destruction of Javeayah's body. He says they poured her remains into Cedar Creek Reservoir. It's not a word you hear a lot when we're talking about human remains and people disposing of them. He says they poured them into Cedar Creek Reservoir. Now, there were DNR divers, there were other crews up at Cedar Creek searching that area for hours and hours and hours. We've been up there a couple days as they continued on with that search. He says they found human remains that were sent to the lab, SLED lab, for DNA evidence. He says the DNA was consistent with the biological offspring of Javeayah Harris and Michelle Herring. In other words, they believe they found Javeayah's remains, again, poured into the Cedar Creek Reservoir after the corrosive chemicals and other tools were used. He says it's unlikely any other remains will be uncovered because of the nature that they were destroyed. And he says it is not possible that they will recover Javeayah's body because of the evidence that they've uncovered in this case. Because of all that, he says that Javeayah and Michelle will be charged with desecration and destruction of human remains. They are already both facing homicide by child abuse charges. I've got those warrants right here. It's what I was taking notes on the back of. Michelle Herring is also facing a charge of falsifying a police report. She was denied bond for that charge because it's tied to the homicide charge. They still have to go to a circuit court to see if they are eligible for bond for the homicide charges. But every new piece of information, every new news conference and warrant and report that we get that adds some more light to this case makes it more and more heartbreaking. I'll read you what we found out on Monday in these arrest warrants. It says that they are charged with murder/homicide by child abuse. This says the death occurs under circumstances manifesting an extreme indifference to human life by not seeking medical attention for Javeayah after knowing that Javeayah suffered injury which was obtained by physical abuse. They say they got that information through the defendant and co-defendant's confession. That would be Michelle Herring and Javeayah Harris confessed to that information. And they believe this happened between May 1st and June 15th. So this call came in on June 30th, I believe it was. Let's see, yesterday was the 8th, June 30th, last day of June. And they believe this happened between May 1st and June 15th. And this report says that they believe this happened on or about June 5th. So a full 3.5 weeks before that 911 call. We are going to play the 911 call. I'm going to warn you, it is hard to listen to knowing what we know now. It is frustrating to listen to knowing what we know now, but we are going to play that. Keep in mind, the sheriff's office believes Javeayah was killed about a month before this 911 call took place. Take a listen.
Aiken County 911, where's your emergency?
Ma'am, I'm at 39 Hillsborough Street. I can't find my baby.
39 Hillsborough Street?
Yes, ma'am. She was outside playing, and I came out here after cooking dinner a little bit, and I'm looking for her, but I don't see her nowhere.
All right. How old is this baby?
She's 4.
All right. What was she wearing?
She has on pink Minnie Mouse pajamas, and she had in pink beads. She had braids.
Is she black, white, or Hispanic?
She's mixed.
Okay. How long ago did you see her, ma'am? When was the last time you saw her?
I just came out here like no less than 20 or 30 minutes ago. I went in the house to cook dinner, and I told her it's time to come in once it starts getting dark. And when I came out here, I just
Just take a breath for me, okay? I already have them on the way to you, okay? Do you know where she might be heading? Okay, you have any family or friends that live around the area?
No, but she usually try to chase our chickens to catch them, and I've been looking through the woods to try to see if I see her, but I don't see her nowhere.
What's your name?
My name is Michelle Harris.
What's her name?
Javeayah Harris.
Harris? I couldn't hear the first name.
Javeayah is spelled Javeayah, and I wasn't out here. I'm 39 weeks pregnant. I can't keep up with her like that.
Okay. And what? Anybody else out there with her? Like that was out there with her? Any friends, kids playing with her?
The way our yard is set up, it's nothing but the dogs and the chickens
Okay.
right here at the back.
All right. Does she have any health issues? Any mental issues? Anything like that?
They suspect that she was autistic, but she just now turned 4, so they don't have no diagnosis all the way.
Okay.
She's very smart, though. She don't seem autistic.
Does she talk?
Yeah. She can carry a full conversation.
Okay. You didn't see any vehicles before you went inside or anything like that?
No, but what worries me is these crackheads that walk in his house behind the house. I don't know. I've always felt weird about them, and I don't know. Hello?
I'm still here, ma'am. Give me just a second.
My call might be breaking up because of where we at.
Okay. What's a good callback number for you, ma'am?
Ma'am, I don't have one. My phone is not on, but I can still call 911.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Okay. I'm on the way to you. Just to confirm, where was she in the house when you saw her last?
No, she wasn't in the house, ma'am. She been playing outside today. And she asked me, can she play for a little bit more before it got dark, and I said yes. And I literally, her bath water is in the tub, ran, and dinner is cooking, and I came out here to get her, and I can't even find her.
Okay, is there a certain place she likes to play outside?
Usually in the chicken coop, and that's usually where I find her every day. And I just looked in here, and she's not in here.
Okay. Is there any bodies of water nearby?
I don't know, ma'am. Me and my husband just now purchased in this house. I don't know about this area much, but it's not a good area. I'll tell you that. It's not good.
Okay, you say you searched the woods. Is that behind your house?
Yes, it's like a pathway right behind my house. And we usually take the dog sometimes in the woods to just let them run. And she'll come, so I know she knows about the woods. And but I look down the same pathway that we walk, and I do not see her.
Okay, and you said she was wearing pink Minnie Mouse pajamas. Anything else you may be wearing?
Her beads are pink.
Beads are pink?
Yeah, she's got braids. I mean, I don't know if she got on Crocs or with shoes, because she just puts on play shoes, but I don't, ma'am, it's not no way that she could have got far.
All right. Do you have any neighbors around the area that you're familiar with she might be going to?
No, we don't talk to none of these people. None of these people, because they all mostly do drugs. I don't associate myself with that.
Have you checked with neighbors to see if they have seen her?
No, ma'am. I'm literally, I called you 10 minutes after I stepped outside. The cops are pulling up right now.
All right, go ahead and talk to them, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, no problem.
So there you go. That is the 911 call from Javeayah Harris's mother, Michaela Herring. Again, that was about a month after deputies believe Javeayah Harris was killed. Because of that call, Michaela Herring has now been charged with falsifying a police report, on top of the homicide by child abuse, and now we know desecration and destruction of human remains. So that is the list of charges she is facing. Javeayah Harris, who is the father of Javeayah Harris, he is charged with the desecration of human remains as well as the homicide by child abuse. Again, that is hard to hear knowing what we know now. The sheriff's office telling us some new details today. And we had talked in the newsroom about what we thought was going to come out of this news conference today. This was worse than anything we had come up with. We thought maybe they had found Javeayah's body. We thought maybe they were going to say they had found human remains they were sending off to test if they might be Javeayah's. This somehow was worse than all of that, telling us today they found human remains, had sent them to the lab. They were consistent with Javeayah's. And then the details of what had happened to Javeayah's body are just hard to listen to. But if you're just joining us, if you may have missed it, Sheriff Marty Sawyer with the Aiken County Sheriff's Office telling us they found remains in Cedar Creek Reservoir up in Fairfield County. They sent those off to the lab. They came back. They believe they are Javeayah's remains. And he says Javeayah's parents, Michelle Herring, Javeayah Harris, went to extensive and deliberate lengths to cover up Javeayah's death. He says they used corrosive chemicals and other tools to accelerate the destruction of Javeayah's body. He says they then poured those remains into Cedar Creek Reservoir in Fairfield County. And I don't think I've ever heard poured remains before when talking about disposing of a body. He says because of the nature that they found Javeayah's remains in, it's unlikely they'll find any more remains, and it's not possible for them to recover Javeayah's body. So he wanted to thank law enforcement, and that's something we'll take a second here to talk about. 200 plus law enforcement officers have spent God only knows how many hours searching for a body that they were never going to find. They searched 5,000 acres in Aiken County. They searched up in the Great Falls area. They searched, now we know, Cedar Creek Reservoir, but we've been talking about this for a week now. Aiken County Sheriff's Office, SLED, FBI out of Columbia, the Richmond County Sheriff's Office, the Lexington County Sheriff's Office, the Kershaw County Sheriff's Office, the agencies from all over coming together trying to find Javeayah. And this says Tuesday, July 7th, but it goes far before that as well. This call came in on June 30th, and they were out there that night searching for Javeayah. They were out there all of July 1st, 24 straight hours just about, searching for Javeayah's body. And then into that Thursday as well, Friday into the weekend. And on Saturday is when we found out they were charging Javeayah's parents. They were arresting Javeayah's parents and charging them with homicide by child abuse and that false police report. And then the arrest warrants come out on Monday. That's what we've got now. And then we continue to learn more information until today they announce they have found human remains that they believe are Javeayah's. This case just continues to take turn after turn. And they are all just sadder and sadder and sadder. The heartbreak of this case has been felt since day one, and it just continues to amplify as we learn new details. It shows that there is some evil out there. There really is evil in this world. If everything the sheriff's office is saying is true, there is certainly some evil out there, and it is walking among us. But I think a good spin on this, a positive thing that we've seen from all this, is there is some good out there in this world too, and there's a lot of it. We've seen vigils for Javeayah Harris. We saw one over the weekend. There's another one tonight. There's another one tomorrow. We saw the church, Bethel Baptist, they came together as early as 1:30 on Wednesday morning, I believe it was, last week, coming together to try to help out and provide a place for those law enforcement officers, for those agencies to gather, to get food, to get water, to get some cool air because they were out there working in 100-degree weather. They came out, taking a look at the vigil from Sunday. This was in the alley in Aiken. Again, there's another one tonight in Shiloh Heights at 7:30. There's another one tomorrow in Union County at Foster Park at 7 o'clock. So people who never knew Javeayah, who never got the chance to know Javeayah, coming together to mourn this little girl who, again, investigators believe was killed a month ago now, about give or take a month ago. And her parents, again, charged with her death. So we've got about 15 minutes till our noon show here. Let's just go ahead and play Sheriff Sawyer's news conference one more time. We'll come back and wrap it up, and then we'll have the latest from Will and Sydney at midday.
Good morning. I'm Marty Sawyer, and I'm the sheriff in Aiken County. Thank you for being here today, especially the citizens of Aiken that's come in. Thank you for being here. And I'm here to provide an update on the investigation that we've been investigating the death of 4-year-old Javeayah Harris. These updates never get easier to share. This past week has been heart-wrenching for everyone, but we've seen an outpouring of support in Aiken County and a massive joint law enforcement effort to search for and now to seek justice for Javeayah Harris. Personally, there's some very harsh words that I would like to use about Javeayah and Michela and their actions. But I will not do that. And I will not do that to protect and maintain the integrity of this case. But I will tell you this. I will not refer to them as mom and dad or mother or father. They don't deserve that title. I stand before you saying this is one of the most difficult, deeply disturbing, and emotionally taxing investigations this office has ever worked, and it's weighed heavily on this sheriff's office, all these other law enforcement agencies, all these people behind me that's worked tirelessly to bring this to an end, and it's weighed heavily on our community. I am truly sickened to share what this investigation has uncovered. From the moment Javeayah was reported missing, the sheriff's office, as well as our law enforcement partners and first responders, we responded with urgency, determination, and compassion. What started as an exhaustive and complex search quickly grew to something that I would have never imagined. Now understand, I cannot discuss all the details. Understand that I cannot discuss all the specific details in this case. But at this time, I can share that a few human remains were recovered in an area known as Cedar Creek Reservoir, also known as Stumpy Pond in Fairfield County. These remains were immediately sent to the State Law Enforcement Division, and through analysis, the DNA of the remains are consistent with being the biological offspring of Javeayah and Michela. I want to also share with you that through forensic evidence, statements, and analysis, extensive and deliberate efforts were made to destroy and conceal evidence following Javeayah's death. Our information reveals the use of corrosive chemicals and other tools that were used to accelerate the destruction of her little body. After this was completed, these two individuals poured what remains were left of Javeayah into the Cedar Creek Reservoir. These subjects went through great lengths to cover their repulsive and revolting actions. In my 37-year career in law enforcement, I have never, ever heard of anything so horrific. As a result of this information, it's unlikely that the entirety of Javeayah's body or any other remains from this point forward will be recovered. And I'll say this again, we had all hoped and prayed to find her body, but with the information we've uncovered, that's simply not possible. I want to also announce additional charges for destruction and desecration of human remains have been filed against these two individuals. I know this is heartbreaking for anyone who's followed this case. It's heartbreaking for our office. For all the law enforcement across the state that's worked on this case, countless hours to find every piece of evidence with the hope of bringing Javeayah home. It's heartbreaking to our community. Our commitment has been to pursue the truth regardless of how difficult it may be. While no announcement can lessen the profound loss in this case, our commitment remains unchanged. Today is not only about the evidence recovered, it's about a child whose life was taken far too soon. While today marks a painful chapter in this case, it does not end our work. Our investigators will continue to pursue every lead, examine every piece of evidence, and work closely with the Second Circuit Solicitor's Office to ensure that justice for Javeayah is pursued. I ask you to pray. Pray for Javeayah and her extended family, our staff, all these other law enforcement agencies, and this community. Again, I want to thank all these law enforcement partners, local, state, federal, other first responders who assisted in this case. But from the time I announced at my last press conference that the investigation had taken us outside of Aiken County, I specifically want to thank the State Law Enforcement Division, South Carolina DNR, and Sheriff Will Montgomery and the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. These DNR divers spent hours and hours and hours searching. Finally, I want to again thank our community. Throughout this investigation, you have demonstrated compassion, encouragement, patience, and prayers. We recognize the emotional impact this case has had on so many, and we thank you for standing with us. Together, this community has shown that even in the face of tragedy, compassion, unity, and service remain stronger than the darkness we've encountered. I'm going to take a few questions, but if it didn't come from this press release, you're probably not going to get much more.
Sheriff, how this investigation has unfolded and these additional charges on the parents, at some point, do you have plans to push for the death penalty?
At this point in time, with what they're charged with, that would be a question for the solicitor's office later down the line. I don't want to speak for them.
All right, so that was the sheriff. That news conference was about 10:30 this morning, so about an hour and a half ago. So we just replayed that for you, and he said he was taking questions there, but there wasn't a whole lot of new stuff that came out of those questions, so we went ahead and cut it off there for you. But now we're giving you a look. Is this live? Yeah, am I looking at a live look here? Yeah, this is a live look right now at the memorial that's been growing outside of Javeayah's house. This started off with a stuffed animal and some flowers, I think, and then has just grown up to this. And someone said they like how the sheriff was wearing pink. yes, that was actually a question. You know what? They did ask a question there about wearing pink, and the sheriff answered that, and he said, we care about the people in this community. He's like, we're part of this community, and they hurt just like everybody else did. The sheriff's office and all those other agencies, the 200 law enforcement officers were there every day, not knowing what they were going to find or not find, trying to find Javeayah Harris, that 4-year-old girl who went missing in their community. And they were out in the 100-degree heat from Tuesday night till, I don't remember exactly when they stopped searching, maybe Sunday. I think they stopped searching the house super thoroughly. Then they went back on Tuesday. Then they were up, we know, in Fairfield County searching Cedar Creek Reservoir up there. So they're a part of this community, and they're hurting just like everybody else. We here at News 12 have been praying for Javeayah and hoping for her safe return, and then hoping her body was returned. Now, unfortunately, we know neither of those is possible after the sheriff's news conference today. But a lot of us wore pink yesterday on air in support of Javeayah to let her know that she was loved. Little girl, many of us never got the chance to meet. So that just shows the impact that this story has had on people across our community and beyond. We know, they say where it was. She was found, her remains were found in Cedar Creek Reservoir up in Fairfield County in South Carolina. So that's where they found the remains. But again, the sheriff said it would be unlikely to recover any more remains and not possible to recover Javeayah's body because of the manner in which her body was disposed of and destroyed. So that was Sheriff Marty Sawyer about an hour and a half ago. We do have our midday newscast coming up. If you're watching us on social here, we are going to just air the newscast on our social media platform. So if you're watching here on Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok, we are going to air this through our social media. So you don't have to go anywhere. You can just join us on WRDW if you'd like to. You want to come join us on our app, WRDW Plus. But if you want to just stay where you are and watch our newscast here, Will and Sydney are going to be live in just a minute or so. So we're going to wrap this up here in just a bit, but just wanted to bring you the latest update on that. Was that near their home? No. The remains were found not near their home. Fairfield County, South Carolina, Cedar Creek Reservoir. I think Union, I believe, is in Union County, but they're close by. Union, Fairfield. There's another one up there that's escaping me right now, but those were all in the same area. Yeah, it's about a 2-hour drive from this area where Cedar Creek Reservoir is. And we noticed yesterday Cedar Creek Reservoir in that area wasn't being searched. So that was kind of an eye-opening thing for us because they had been searching that area pretty hard over the last couple days. Okay, we got about 45 seconds. I'm going to stop talking here. We're probably going to throw up a quick little slate. But again, if you're on social, just stick with us. We are going to have our midday newscast coming up here in about 30 seconds.
Live from Augusta, breaking news.
Well, we begin with some very difficult updates to give you all in the death of 4-year-old Javeayah Harris. Investigators believe they have recovered parts of Javeayah's remains out of the Cedar Creek Reservoir in Fairfield County. Her parents now facing new charges. Now, we received these developments during a news conference with the Aiken County Sheriff Marty Sawyer. He announced those developments. As you can see, your Will Rio, Sidney Hood standing by there. Before we get to them, I do want to warn some of our viewers. What you're about to hear is quite disturbing to some of you all, so want to give you that. And with that, let's go ahead and take things over to your Will Rio and Sidney Hood. And Will, Sidney, something the sheriff mentioned is that he was reluctant to even refer to the suspects as parents, and I could not agree with him more.
Yeah, the sheriff having very strong and powerful words during his press conference that happened about an hour and a half ago at this point. We've made our way back to Javeayah Harris's family's home here in Aiken County, and you can see that memorial has just continued to grow behind us. There are several people out here who are still showing their love and support for Javeayah after this horrible news that we got from this news conference. And to just give you some details, again, we hate to go into these details, but it just gives you an idea of how horrific this crime really was that was allegedly committed by the parents. We do know that part of Javeayah's remains were actually found in the Cedar Creek Reservoir, also known as Stumpy Pond, that's up in Fairfield County. We know that's where the search has been going on for the last few days or so. We know that the parents also used corrosive chemicals to accelerate the decomposition of Javeayah's little body, and we're unsure of where exactly that happened, but they ended up coming back here to the home and were able to compare evidence at SLED's lab too. So just an absolutely horrific crime, and there's really no words to describe what we learned today.
A very heartbreaking message from the sheriff today. Will, you saw it on his face, how somber it was for him to have to announce that, and you certainly heard it in his voice getting choked up here and there in that news conference as he is telling us these details. But one thing that he did note was how strong this community has been in the last week or so since Javeayah was reported missing, since that 911 call came in. And as the sheriff was walking in to start his announcement today, there were members of the public present at the news conference wanting to listen in on the details themselves, and they were thanking the sheriff and the investigators that were standing behind him. I mean, you saw the dozens of law enforcement officers standing behind them. You could see the somberness on their faces as well. They may have not spoken, but their face said a lot about how heavy this case has been weighing on them. And that's another thing that Sheriff Sawyer said, is that they're human in all of this. A lot of them had on pink ribbons on their jackets. Sheriff Sawyer and a couple of his command crew were wearing pink ties as well in support for Javeayah, as the community has done this entire time. I mean, you see the wave of pink at this memorial outside of her house. The pink balloons, the pink stuffed animals, the pink candles, just so many people coming together to honor this little girl who none of them knew 2 weeks ago. And Javeayah certainly did not know these people as well, but you could certainly see how loved she is by these strangers. And something remarkable about this memorial is the amount of people who are coming from out of town.
Yeah.
Certainly we've seen the Aiken community come together. You were at a vigil on Sunday at the Alley, but we've met people who have traveled here from Augusta, Evans, Thompson. A person that I met yesterday came from Columbia.
I had one from Barnwell too, and
Yeah.
a couple over here from Sumter, South Carolina too.
Yeah, a person that I met yesterday traveled from Delaware. She was down here visiting family, mind you, but just to hear how far Javeayah's story has spread really shows you that she has touched the hearts of so many people. And you got to think, a lot of these people are parents themselves. They're also grandparents, so their heart really aches to know what investigators say happened to Javeayah. And listening to those details from the sheriff this morning, I mean, it was, like you said, Will, you really can't describe what it was like listening to that and having to process that, what they were telling us.
Yeah, and again, the sheriff had some really strong words. We do want to play some sound bites from that press conference that happened a little bit ago. Take a listen.
But I will tell you this. I will not refer to them as mom and dad or mother or father. They don't deserve that title. I stand before you saying this is one of the most difficult, deeply disturbing, and emotionally taxing investigations this office has ever worked, and it's weighed heavily on this sheriff's office, all these other law enforcement agencies, all these people behind me that's worked tirelessly to bring this to an end, and it's weighed heavily on our community. I am truly sickened to share what this investigation has uncovered. These subjects went through great lengths to cover their repulsive and revolting actions. In my 37-year career in law enforcement, I have never, ever heard of anything so horrific. As a result of this information, it's unlikely that the entirety of Javeayah's body or any other remains from this point forward will be recovered.
But at least we have some answers now as to what exactly happened and what the parents have been charged with doing in this case. And again, this has been a very active scene here at the family's home, where that memorial has continued to grow over the last week or so. We have some people, I don't want to show them, I want to give people some respect here, but a couple of people who are over here hugging one another. I mean, these are complete strangers, right? And everyone's come together, and that's been the moral of the story with all of this, is that this little 4-year-old girl has brought everyone in this community together. But again, the sheriff not going into much detail in the investigation, what led them back to this home on Tuesday. You were out here for that. What led them to Fairfield County. Again, we know the parents did confess. That's on the warrants that we have, but we don't know if they had told them a specific location or what information they were able to get out of the family. But again, this has just been shocking. There's no real words for this, but the community support has been absolutely beautiful to see out here, and I think that's shown perfectly by the memorial.
Right, and the people who have come out here to stand in silence. I've seen a couple of people kneel down to pray for Javeayah. I've seen kids who appear to be close in age to Javeayah come out here with toys in their hands, wanting to leave something behind for Javeayah. And to touch on how much this memorial has grown, I got out here on Sunday, as you did too, Will, and the first thing that was set down here was just a couple of flowers and a gray stuffed elephant. We actually spoke to the woman who put that down, and she said that she and her grandchild wanted to come out here and leave some toys behind for Javeayah, and you certainly see that people have picked up on that message now. But seeing the little kids that have come out here and wanting to honor Javeayah, there were a couple of kids present at that news conference today with their parents and grandparents as well. So it really just touches your heart to see the kids, you know, they know that Javeayah is not here anymore, but they still want to make sure that she knows that she's loved and that she has an entire community wrapped around her. And another thing that really touches your heart whenever you look at this memorial, I was talking to someone yesterday we were talking about just the sheer amount of toys that are placed out here, and she mentioned to me how, you know, it shouldn't have to be this way, that they should be leaving these toys for Javeayah for her birthday or Christmas, perhaps, not for a memorial for her. But yeah, there's just no denying that Javeayah has touched the hearts of just not just this Aiken County community, but across South Carolina and really across the country, I would argue. Yeah, and I want to go back to a little bit about the investigation and what we've been able to gather over the last week. And you go back to the phone interview I had with the father. That was on Thursday last week. And just hearing the story that he told us, that he went to several stores, Javeayah wanted some candy, his girlfriend was potentially in labor at that point, and he raced home. And I asked him, I said, do you have any idea what happened to Javeayah? Do you know where she is? And he told me, no, sir, I don't. And that was the answer that we got. And then you go to the 911 call and the story that she gave the dispatcher on the phone. Now knowing what we know in this case and what they have been alleged to have done to Javeayah, it's just incredibly, it's just horrific. How descriptive that phone call was to Will. She told dispatchers what Javeayah was wearing, said that she was wearing pink Minnie Mouse pajamas. She had on Crocs, the braids, the pink beads in her hair, the same description that law enforcement gave us the night that she was reported missing to them. But hearing that phone call and what was said in there, I mean, she gave a little, I think we've got some people here that are about to pray. So let's just take in this moment with them real quick. And guys, this is what it's all about right here. This is what the community has done through all of this, and I think that's just the image that
we all want to share is how much of an impact this 4-year-old little girl that no one knew before any of this has made. It's just brought so many people from different walks of life together, and certainly her memory will not be forgotten. And law enforcement has told us that they weren't going to stop searching till they brought her home, and certainly they've done that now.
Absolutely.
But now the next step in all of this is justice for Javeayah.
Absolutely, and I think those people behind us can echo to that, why they wanted to come out here and pray for her and show Javeayah that she has a community that's behind her right now.
Yeah, this has been an incredibly difficult investigation and case for all of us to watch unfold. And again, it's just one of the worst things. It's not the outcome any of us wanted, but it's something that, and it's something that we will continue to follow all the way through to make sure you guys are completely up to date on every single thing. Ashley.
Yeah, it's great to see the community to come together. It's just terrible that it had to be on such tragic terms. Thank you so much, Will and Sydney, for that update. And as the community continues to mourn Javeayah, her parents sit in a jail cell facing those new charges. The sheriff's office charged both now with destruction and desecration of human remains. Over the weekend, both were charged with homicide by child abuse, while Herring is also charged with filing a false police report. In bond court, she was denied bond for that filing a false police report charge. They'll see a circuit court judge within the next 30 days to see if they qualify for bond on that homicide charge. They'll have their first court appearances in September. And even though Javeayah's remains were found, the sheriff's office is continuing their investigation. They're asking for any information that you may have. If you have any, scan that code there on your screen. Investigators are asking for any videos, pictures, or documents about Javeayah. You can also find this link to submit those tips on our website and all of our coverage on Javeayah on our website, WRDW.com. And there are plenty of ways to honor Javeayah. There will be a candlelight vigil at the event center on Shiloh Heights Road. That'll be at 7:30 tonight. Organizers want you to bring your own candle. You can also bring balloons and stuffed animals to leave at that memorial. Union County will have a vigil at Foster Park tomorrow at 7. You're asked to bring a teddy bear, lawn chair, and water. And then on July 25th, a bike giveaway is planned in honor of Javeayah. There's a form for you to fill out. That's on our website as well, WRDW.com. The giveaway will be from 11 to 1 at the Henry Brigham Community Center. All right, stay with us. We have a check of your forecast after the break.